It is my honor and privilege to introduce my amazing co-chair. And I have this blurb that I'm going to read, but before I do that, I just want to say that this has been an absolute joy. An absolute joy putting together and working with the newly minted Dr. Sunshine Daye. Wow. We could not have done this without her. And so, she is a dynamic spiritual teacher, speaker, and author, dedicated to guiding others toward freedom, joy, and transformation. An ordained minister with a master's degree, she studied under Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith and brings profound spiritual wisdom to those seeking a deeper knowledge of themselves as the divine and human form. With 39 years of sobriety and 28 years living the science of mind, Sunshine shares powerful tools for inner growth, especially within 12-step recovery programs and communities. Her deep spiritual journey spans Catholicism, Buddhism, and Jehovah's Witness. Honored for her service and compassion, she was awarded the Jean Lenser Human Relations Award and named Female Community Grand Marshal by Long Beach Pride. Rooted in love and fun, Sunshine meets people where they are, inspiring them to embrace their divine nature and live joyously. Please help me welcome Reverend Dr. Sunshine Daye.
Thank you. I know I need a moment to simply get present and centered, and I invite you to do the same. If we believe there's no separation, why are we still pretending like there is? I mean, let's tell the truth. We may have a crisis of willingness. And what I mean by that is, we say we want unity as long as it doesn't come at the cost of our comfort. I'm not calling you out, I'm calling myself out. But if it resonates, welcome. You see, one of my favorite quotes, and it's a declaration from Ernest Holmes, is where he talks about emancipation from all discord. And I don't know about you, but I believe that. Like, I trust that. I want that. But the cost of emancipation from all discord, it comes with something radical. And the something radical is that you have to be the change that you keep preaching about. And this is why I'm standing here today, to remind us, gently and sometimes in your face, is that the indwelling presence is not silent. It's not withholding, it's not vague, and it's not waiting for you to get it right. It's simply present, always, always communicating, always speaking. The question is, where am I listening from? Where am I listening from? And how does my indwelling power and presence speak to me in a language that I get and that I understand? Because what I've come to know through my own living and my own life and walking in particular with people in recovery is that clarity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from courageous self-examination. And I'm not talking about the surface reflection. Let's reflect. I'm not talking about using spiritual language and being all spiritual. I'm not talking about bypassing. I'm talking about the kind of honesty and self-examination that causes us to really pause and ask ourselves, where am I out of integrity? Where am I still running the show? Where am I listening from fear? Where am I listening from alignment? Because willingness, beloveds, real willingness is actually the doorway to emancipation. It's the doorway to the freedom that we seek. So how does separation outpicture in our community? Lots of us tend to believe, oh, I don't believe in separation. I don't see this or I don't see that, or I'm doing my work. And yes, we are. Individually and collectively, we are. And yet there are so many subtle ways in which separation thinking still shows up. You want to hear a few? Okay. Us versus them. And we say this often, but here's the us versus them that I'm talking about. Being woke or awake while the others are asleep. Spiritual driven versus ego driven. Oh, that's just all ego right there. See that? That's all ego, not in alignment. It also shows up as spiritual superiority, you know? If the world only thought like we did, if they only practiced, we have the answer. Us, we have an answer. You know, our practice makes us more evolved than the rest. Or choosing who's worthy enough to love. You know, judging other people on their journey. They haven't arrived yet. They're unconscious or toxic or narcissistic. Oops, did I say that? I'm not telling you stuff I haven't done myself. You want to hear a few more ways of separation thinking? Having an attachment to being right instead of staying open, instead of staying connected. Or performative spirituality, I don't know. We speak the language of oneness and love and presence, but when it comes down to conflict or disagreement, we're not embodying it. And sometimes avoidance of accountability. Everything's perfect, it's all good, don't worry. Instead of owning it, hey, this is how I learn. I make mistakes. Here's where I messed up. I've had to say that on this committee lots. I've overstepped my boundaries here or my authority here. Let me check with someone else. Or I need to do this differently because I spoke out of turn. And owning that accountability, it's hard. Especially when ego wants me to save face. You know, especially when you've honored me and then I have to say I made a mistake. It's not an easy thing to do, but it gets easier. It gets easier. You know, I gotta tell you that these things that I speak of is not to poke at you, but it's in fact to just remind us to gently awaken to the ways that we've just forgotten or don't want to look. Because I've lived that life. I'll share with you that a moment in my addiction that still humbles me today is I was getting loaded with a friend, and she had a seizure. And here is this beautiful human being in front of me, someone I called friend. And as she's having this seizure, instead of reaching for her, I reach for the pipe. Now, that's not a lack of intelligence. That's an example of disconnection, where we don't see humanity, where we believe in separate. I don't know about you, go ahead and have that seizure, girl. I'm going to hit this pipe. Wow. It still humbles me, and that's why 39 years later, after getting sober, the wreckage isn't just out there. The wreckage is also in here. The guilt, the shame, the fear of being seen. And what I discovered changed everything. That indwelling presence, it didn't condemn me, but it didn't let me hide either. It didn't shout, it didn't shame or punish me, but it restored me. The more and more I surrendered, the more I listened, the more I did the work of inquiry and amends, and then confronting harmful behaviors, my harmful behaviors, how I've hurt others, not to punish me, but as a way to freedom. Having to look at these things, to examine these things, to call it what it is. Not in a way of shaming me, but in a way to show me the way to freedom. Because here's the truth that I want to share with you today. You can't hear clearly while protecting your illusions. You can't hear clearly while still protecting your illusions. And you can't receive guidance while defending the patterns that distorted it in the first place. And while recovery, sometimes people look at it and poo-poo on it, I want to share with you that recovery, the path of recovery, gave me the spiritual language that has fortified my faith. Thank you, Z. And that language is rigorous honesty. Rigorous honesty. That language is fearless moral inventory, that self-examination that I was talking about. And making amends. Now, these are not just recovery tools. These are spiritual tuning instruments. And every time I told the truth, when it would have been easier to hide, I could hear more clearly. And every time I made an amends, instead of trying to blame others, every time I looked at my behavior, I felt alignment return. And when I stopped blaming others and started examining my own behavior, that still small voice became unmistakably clear. Because spirit doesn't need to shout. It's not competing for your fear. It's not competing, against your fear. It's not competing against your ego. Spirit doesn't compete. It's simply present, always, just waiting for us to be willing to look. So here's my loving challenge to all of us, whether you be minister, practitioner, whether you be a student of truth, whether you know how to speak the language and the lingo with ease and grace, My challenge is for you to go home and ask yourself, where am I still protecting my comfort? And where is my ego dressed up as truth? And where am I still pretending that there's separation? And maybe, just maybe, the most important question is, am I really willing or just well practiced? Because when Ernest Holmes spoke about emancipation, the ultimate goal of life is to have complete emancipation from all discord. And then he said, and this is sure to be attained by all. Emancipation from all discord, beloveds. That's the end of the illusion of separation. That's the discord. And that promise is not passive. Emancipation is achieved by understanding that heaven, that God is within us, and that we only experience it. See, y'all know it. You experience it to the degree that you become conscious of it. But if we're staying unconscious, we're not experiencing freedom from discord. So this is not just something we agree with. It's something that we have to practice into reality. And how do we practice that into reality? Ernest Holmes taught us it's through the power of the mind and control of our thoughts. This is how we overcome discord. But if we're not participating, then we won't get it. So it requires truth-telling. It requires willingness. And here's what I know. The world doesn't change because we agree with unity, or we agree with oneness, or we agree with wholeness and abundance, or peace or joy. The world changes when we embody those things. Talk is cheap. We must embody it. And by the way, be the change, that's not just inspirational, it's an initiation. And emancipation from all discord begins the moment you stop defending separation and start living like it was never true in the first place. So my final question to you, beloveds, is, how free do you want to be?